Hi, my name is Kevin Fernandez and welcome to my channel, Genie. Today we're going to be learning how to play the amazing cooperative game Unmatched Tales to Amaze. This 1 to 4 player game designed by Jason Hager and Darren Reckner and published by Restoration Games. Monsters like the Mothman and the Martians are attacking the innocent town with their minions. It is up to you, the heroes, to defend the town and save the day. Will you be successful, or will the mastermind get away with their villainous scheme? Find out as we go to the table and learn how to play Unmatched Tales to Amaze. So first, choose a villain, and then we're going to set them up like so. So we have to choose a side of the board for this game, and for this setup, we're going to do Mothman. We place the game board with our Mothman side face up, and we place our threat marker, which is this little guy right here, at the 1 space of our threat track. Then we will shuffle the villain's action deck and we'll place it, we're going to place all of our villain decks at the bottom out of view. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set the villain's health dial. There's one for the Mothman and there's one for the Martians. Now for this one you have to set it 10 points per player. So if you're playing by yourself, you put it at 10. If you're playing with a friend, you play it with 20. If you're playing with if you and 2 friends are playing, then 30. And of course, if you're playing with the full count of players, you play as 40. Since we are going to do a 2-player game, we need to set it to 20. And I'm going to put his life up at the top. Then you place the villain miniature in the 5 space in the center of the board. And this is our miniature right here. I'm going to place that right there. Then we'll choose a number of minions equal to the number of players. For this game, we're going to play with the tarantula, shuffle that deck up, and we're going to play with the skunk ape. So we're going to shuffle that one up too. There we go. So now we have our 3 decks, and again, we're going to put them all at the face down. Then what you do is you will take their little character chips, and you're going to place them in the area surrounding the main villain. And you can choose these randomly using their initiative cards, like so. Or you can just pick whichever one you want. Your choice. Dials to 10. All the dials will be up by the boss. Now, if you are playing with the tarantula, which we are, or the blob, you need to create a supply. Since we're playing with the tarantula, we do need to create a supply of web tokens. And we're going to put these over by the tarantula's deck out of view. And if we were playing with the blob, there are these acid tokens that we need to use. But since we're not playing with them, we don't need to talk about that right now. Each player chooses a hero and places them on an empty starting space and sets up according to the basic Unmatched rules. So I'm going to be playing as the Golden Bat. I'm going to place my card right there. I will shuffle the deck as I will take my miniature and I will place him on the 1 space. Because traditional, if you guys don't know, if this is like your go-to video for this, you do need to set up where first player will be placed on the 1 spot, second player will be placed on the 2 spot, and so on and so forth. The monster will always go on the 5 spot though. And then we got Jordan's character, and we'll place her on the number 2 space along with her sidekick. Place that right there. Now, as far as Jordan's character goes, that might not be the initial setup for her. She will go to the player 2 space. However, her sidekick might not go in that same location. Place this there. This is for Jill. These are for Jill. And this is for the golden bat. Each player takes their order marker. Since we are going to play with 2 players, we're going to take the 1 and the 2 player marker. We're going to return the rest to the box as we will not be using them. Then we will take initiative cards for the villain, minions, and players being used, and we'll shuffle them together. I'll place them right here, as you need to place it near the board. If you are playing with the Loveland Frog or the Ant Queen, do not include the 3 Loveland Frog Strikes Again or the 3 Ant Queen Strange Pheromone Initiative cards. Those will be added to the initiative deck during play. But we don't really need to heavily focus on that because we're not playing with those specific minions. And now to finish the setup for the Mothman side, we're going to randomly place each bridge in a specific location. Like so. The bridges are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. However, the specific bridge names are not assigned to any specific number. All that is random. Then place 1 Doom token on bridge number 1. Now, this is specifically for the I got this from Kickstarter, so it's the deluxe. You can buy those separately, but your tokens, if you just have the normal ones, look like this. And you just take the rest of the Doom tokens and we move them off to the side. So to identify which bridge is that, the bridge numbers are printed on the board on the sides. So that way you can identify which one which is pretty quickly. And that completes the setup. Now, the setup, as well as the gameplay moving forward, we're just going to focus on Mothman, as this is for more of a welcoming, more introductory version to the game of Tales to Amaze. There is instructions and rules on how to use the Martian invasion, but I'll let you discover that for yourself. In Tales to Amaze, enemies are opposing fighters controlled by the game. Enemies have a number of special rules. The main enemy is called the villain, and the other enemies are called minions. These are similar to heroes and sidekicks, controlled by players, but effects that specifically refer to heroes or sidekicks do not affect villains or minions. Effects that refer to fighters affect enemies as normal. Each enemy has its own deck of action cards. All enemy cards are versatile cards that can be used to attack or defend. Unlike regular versatile cards, these cards have separate attack and defense values. Most enemy actions, as you can see right there, attack, defense. Most enemy action cards also have effects. Sometimes the effects will resolve whether the card is used for attack or defense. Designated by information enclosed in a single gray box. It will look something like that. So, as you can see in this card, this ability would only work for attack, but not the defense. Other times, the effect will only resolve when the card is used to attack, designated by 2 separate gray boxes. Enemies may move through other enemies, but not through heroes or sidekicks. Some effects place an enemy on the closest empty starting space. Place them on the closest starting space without a fighter. If they are already on a starting space, place them on a new one. Enemies do not have a hand of cards. If an effect would reveal or allow a player to look at an enemy's hand or any number of cards in its hand, instead, look at the top card of its deck. If an enemy is forced to discard any number of cards, whether random or not, put that many cards from the top of the deck into the discard pile. Each villain has a threat track on its respective board. That would be located up here. That displays how close it is to meeting its objective. The threat marker identifies the villain's progress towards its objective, as well as the current threat level. Enemy cards have effects when you advance the threat marker along the threat track, and by how much. When advancing the marker on the track, count the spaces one by one, ignoring printed numbers below the track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Even though eventually it's 4, 4, 5, 5, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The threat level is the value indicated by the printed number directly below the track. Occasionally, an effect will ask the player to reference the threat level, meaning its current value, but not so when the threat marker reaches the end of the threat track. The villain achieves its objective. Ignore any additional spaces the threat marker would move. Immediately resolve the objective, then, unless that ends the game, returns the threat marker back to the first space on the track. The blob and the tarantula have special tokens. The tarantula has webs, and the blob has acid tokens. The webs will keep heroes from moving from space to space, ending their movement when a hero or sidekick lands there. The web tokens do not affect other minions or the villain. If you land on a web token during your first action when choosing movement, you can still move from that space using your second action for movement. The blob drops acid on empty spaces. Just like webs go on empty spaces, unlike webs, instead of sticking an opponent to their space, they will deal 1 damage to anyone who enters that space. Just like the webs, these do not affect minions or the main villain. Tales to Amaze is played over a series of rounds. The players end enemies, taking turns according to the initiative deck. At the start of each turn, reveal the top card of the initiative deck and identify the player or enemy it belongs to. Some initiative cards have effects that resolve when they are revealed, and others only have effects that resolve at the end of the round. Always follows the right now text immediately. So right now, player 2 gets to take their turn, if any. This usually involves a player or enemy taking a turn. After resolving, draw the next initiative card. So we drew player 2. She can move up to 2 spaces, as well as her sidekick, and then any additional actions like attack or anything like that. Every time a new initiative card is revealed, place it to the right of the previous card. As the round progresses, this will create a row of face-up cards. A little note, whenever a minion or player is defeated, remove the corresponding initiative card from play. If it is already revealed, simply remove it from the row. Otherwise, remove it from play next time it is revealed, and then immediately reveal the next card. So let's just say, for example, Skunk Ape gets its health down to 0. So he'll get removed from the board, as well as his initiative card, because he's no longer considered to be in play. So we'll just move this over to the side like that, and that's how that would work. Some effects can cause an enemy initiative card to be placed at the bottom of the initiative deck. As a result, that enemy will get another turn that round. If it is the last turn of the round, it immediately gets another turn. When a player's initiative card is revealed, that player takes a turn. They can carry out their turn as normal, taking 2 actions: maneuver, scheme, or attack. When attacking an enemy, play an attack card face up. Look like that. Face down on the table. Then you play the top card of the enemy deck as a defense card face down on the table. Reveal both simultaneously and resolve combat as normal. The enemy's card indicates the defense value, which would be down here. If there is any effect in the box within the defense value, resolve it. If an effect is only in the box with the attack value, do not resolve it. If the player's attack deals combat damage, reduce the enemy's health. So, for this example, Tarantula would not get any damage from combat. However, I do have an after combat effect that deals 1 damage to each enemy in the Golden Bat's zone, which means the Tarantula and Mothman go down by 1. Deals combat damage, reduce the enemy's health on its health dial, resolve any after combat effects, then put both played cards in their retrospective discard piles. When an enemy is defeated, you remove its miniature, as we did with Skunk Ape, or token, health dial, and all of its cards from the game. If the enemy's initiative card is already revealed, remove it now. If not, remove it when it's revealed. And if you did defeat one, you can just flip the dial face down to remind you that it is defeated. All of them have a defeated sign. Each enemy has a deception card. They'll just say deception and they'll have their own like kind of unique-ish artwork. Whenever this card is put into an enemy's discard pile, you take the discard pile, shuffle up the deck, and then set a new deck ready to go. That way, the enemy's decks never run out. So unfortunately, unlike regular Unmatched, you won't be able to rely on the enemy taking a damage every time it wants to maneuver. Now, if this happens in the middle of combat, immediately shuffle the enemy deck, but do not shuffle the card that the enemy is using in combat. After the combat is over, that card will be discarded to create a new discard pile. Unlike a player's turn, enemies will not take 2 actions. On an enemy's turn, it will try to attack 1 time, moving as necessary to do so. An enemy never attacks twice in the same turn, even if it starts adjacent to a target. Determine which hero or sidekick the enemy will target by using these following steps. First, check and see the adjacent target. If the enemy is adjacent to a hero or sidekick, like Mothman currently is, the players decide who the enemy attacks. Then, if they're all like within a certain distance, it will go for the closest enemy. If no target is adjacent, the enemy will move to attack the closest target within the move range that it can go. If it can reach the closest target by multiple routes, it takes the shortest route. If there is a tie for the closest target, the player chooses the target. If there are multiple routes to take, the players choose the route. Now, usually, thus far in this game, since this is the main game, all of the enemies will try to reach their target by 3 moves. So, if they try to move 3, they try to attack their target that's closest to them, whether it's like adjacent or not. If it's not adjacent, then it'll go within 3 spaces. Whichever one is within the range of 3 spaces, the enemy, including the minions, will make that choice. Now, if there is no target within the move value, so 3 spaces, the enemy does not move or attack. Now, normally, if we were playing the original Unmatched game, we would be safe. However, if there's no place for the enemy to go, the threat marker just goes up by 1. When an enemy attacks a fighter, place the top of the enemy's deck on the table, top card of the enemy's deck, face down. Then the defender may choose a defense card and place that from their hand face down in front of them. It must be a card their defending fighter is allowed to use. Finally, you can reveal both cards simultaneously and resolve the attack. The enemy's card indicates the attack value, which is right there. If the card has an effect, of course resolve it. Then resolve combat as normal. Put the played card in their respective discard piles. Now, of course, they do have the same rules of effects as a traditional game of Unmatched, but if this is your first introduction to Unmatched, the order is this. First it's immediately, then it's during combat, then it's after combat. If you play something that both players have, so if both players have an immediately, both players have a during combat, or both players have an after combat, the defender will get to resolve their abilities first. Once everything's done, we put the cards in the respective discard piles. A player is only eliminated when all of their fighters are defeated. Otherwise, they take a turn with whatever fighters they have remaining. When a player is eliminated, remove their initiative card. If it is already revealed, remove it now. If not, remove it when it is revealed. Then continue play. Eliminated players are not affected by enemy effects. Bridges act as a connection between two spaces adjacent to it, as indicated by the line that's in it. Now, of course, I'll probably put like a... Fighters may move or attack across the bridge between the two spaces as normal. A bridge token is not a separate space. Fighters may not stop their movement on a bridge. Mothman will destroy the lowest numbered bridge every time the threat marker reaches the end of the threat track. One space for each doom token that could not be placed. The bridge numbers, of course, are printed on the board so you can easily see which one's destroyed. A bridge can have up to 8 doom tokens. If, in effect, places a doom token and there are not enough in the supply, the player places as many as they can, and the threat marker moves on the threat track one space for each doom token that could not be placed. After a player completes a maneuver action, they may discard a card to activate a bridge on their fighter that is adjacent to it. They may only activate one bridge in a single action. If their fighters are adjacent to more than one bridge, they may choose which bridge to activate. Activating a bridge triggers its effect and removes doom tokens on it. Using the bridge effects is optional. The effects that you can activate are: for the draw bridge, you can choose a player, they draw cards until they have 4 cards in their hand. Then, for the covered bridge, choose a fighter, they recover up to 3 health. Then we have the trust bridge, choose a fighter, move the fighter up 3 spaces. This can be used on enemies or allies. And then finally we have the suspension bridge. Choose an enemy still in the game, look at the top 2 cards of their deck and discard one and place the other one back on top of the deck. Whether the players use the bridge's effect or not, they may remove a number of doom tokens from that bridge, equal to the boost value of the card they discarded. This will slow down the Mothman from completing the objective. Mothman's objective is to destroy bridges. At the end of each round, most Mothman's initiative card's ability resolves, which moves the threat marker, advance it by 1 space, plus 1 additional one for each doom token on the lowest numbered bridge. When the threat marker reaches its last space of the threat track, Mothman completes its objective and the lowest numbered bridge is destroyed. Mothman does not need to be adjacent to the bridge. Ignore any additional spaces that the threat marker would advance. When Mothman destroys one of the first 3 bridges, resolve the destroys bridge as follows. First, you move all doom markers on the destroyed bridge to the next lowest bridge. So we'll say we got 3 here. It was destroyed by the threat marker. So that means that they would go on number 2. Then remove the destroyed bridge token and place it on the leftmost destroyed bridge spot near the threat track. And you flip it on its back like this. And you place it right here. Then we go to step 3. We resolve the 2 effects below that destroyed bridge's spot, as indicated by the connecting lines. So, place Mothman adjacent to the hero with the lowest health, and then each player discards a card. Then finally, place the threat marker on the first space of the threat track. Once a bridge is destroyed, the space on either side are no longer connected. Fighters may no longer move between them or attack across them with a melee fighter. If Mothman destroys the 4th bridge, all the heroes lose. After the last card in the initiative deck is played, all fighters have taken their turns. resolve all end of round effects at the bottom of the initiative card. So it would be that effect and that effect. And if Skunk Ape wasn't defeated, we'd resolve his too. This time we'd start from the left and go down. So when we drew the cards, we go from right to left. When we come back, we go from left to right. Some cards do not have effects. After resolving all end of round effects, shuffle the initiative cards together and start the next round. A little note, the Loveland Frog and Ant Queen minions can add new cards to the initiative deck. These new cards are added when the initiative cards are shuffled together. After all end of round effects are resolved, the game ends when the players win by defeating the villain, or when the players lose by the villain achieving their objective 4 times, or all players are defeated. And that's all you need to know to play Tales to Amaze. If you have any questions about this game, please put them in the comments below and I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to be notified for, obviously, the gameplay video, but how to play videos just like this. And if you're a big fan of the channel as a whole, consider becoming a Patreon supporter on our Patreon page. You can support us for as little as $1 a month, and it helps us do what we do. I'd like to thank our current patrons. Your donations mean a lot to this channel, so thank you very much. Be on the... Oh, and as I said before, there is rules in your rule book on how to play the Martian invaders, but of course I'll let you discover that for yourself. We will see you in our gameplay video on Tales to Amaze, but until then, thanks for the views.